Before we get into this, though, I am admiring that cover still. That is one of the best covers ever with the hipster driving Riddler.
I still like to imagine that Rebel Radio Riddler is all about the Uber drivings when he's not freaking doing the Rebel Radio. Oh my God, I got a Batman's for a fare?
Well, here's the thing. When is that? Because this guy does not have a set schedule. He is recording at all times, it seems. I don't get it. But here we are. We have 3 books. We have a classic section at the beginning, detective action, but then we'll throw in a little Aquaman. Not Aqua Boys, Eric. They're grown men, men to boys, boys to men. Here we go. But if you want to see written reviews of these books, go over to our website, WeirdScienceDCComics.com, and you can check those out. But we'll jump right into this because we do have a plethora of books. This is Detective Comics number 1060, written by Mariko Tamaki and Nadia Shamus, with art by Ivan Rice, Danny Mickey, Brad Anderson, and Ariana Mayer. We do have a backup. We'll get to that after we talk about the main story by Cinna Grace, the Gotham Girl Interrupted. But we'll get right into the Rebel Radio, Riddler Radio here. And the problem is, you said it, there's not enough of him. I'm starting to lose track of what the story really is all about.
Well, when you base the ideas off this background, like, oh my God, we have a classic Batman villain in a far out new costume. Like, what do you think is worse, honestly? Hipster Rebel Radio Riddler or the Wicker Man Scarecrow? Because it seems like new updates for these characters, and I kind of hate both of them, but I can go with it to a degree. But when you have this going on, it's like, okay, I know it's cliche, I know it's tropey. I want to see Batman solve a Riddler and punch Riddler in the face. But when everything is based around the idea of, hey, everybody, Riddler's on a fucking podcast, your web series, he's doing TV stuff. I don't know what he's doing. He's doing every kind of media all of the time that everybody's paying attention to. And while that's going on, the clues are out there that when it's a murderer, not a murderer. And I'm like, I don't know, because we have this weird mystery afoot about people just going and committing murders and or just acts of violence and terrorism and then turning themselves in and saying, yes, I did this. Please arrest me. And then it just comes down to the idea that, like, here comes the countdown, boys and girls, where people just get envelopes with, like, the Riddler green, like, counting down, like, a 6, a 5, people getting different things. But I'm like, everybody's hiding something to a degree where they got away with something, and it all draws back to this Darby Turner character. And so, like, I mean, I think you're kind of losing me what's happening and how you're trying to determine the detective nonsense of this Batman book. And I'm just sitting like, come on, Riddler, do something.
Yeah, and so when we talked about this, and I said at times, you had accused me of having a vendetta against Mariko Tamaki, and I always say, no, just the writing. And so, yeah, Nadia Shamus in here. I don't know who's doing most of this. But again, this reminds me of what happened in Wonder Woman. You ended up having where things are happening and a character, say a Maxwell Lord there, or here a Riddler, where you're setting up a character that has known powers, known MOs, things like that, and making it seem like they're involved in the sort of way that we get annoyed. Why aren't everybody looking into this, whatnot? And then you do a twist where it's not really about them. It's more about something else. And really, at the end of this, the big play here is the same exact story that we're going to talk about in Harley later today, and also the I Am Batman. This ends up being a story about a legal system that has failed the public by not getting criminals arrested, so somebody else has to step up and give their own verdict to get these people down. And it's weird that there's that many stories like this right now in the Bat family books going on, but it still ends up being Batman can't figure out a damn thing on his own. You even have him so behind the 8 ball in this, but then when you go off and Deb Donovan has almost cracked the case on her own by just looking up old scraps of newspaper. And so Mariko Tamaki's been playing this idea of a Bruce Wayne without money, but is it a Bruce Wayne without a brain cell? Because he can't figure out anything.
Well, and then not even the idea. Off. We have a Gotham City full of Bat family members where we know that we have, this weird citizen freaking criminals going on. I hate the idea of citizen criminals. I think all like criminals are citizens, but it's a weird thing. But the idea, like, you can have Batman work on that if he wants to, but please call up the rest of the Bat family to track down Riddler because he's up to no good, obviously. And if he's not up to no good, he does not belong to be on the streets or hitting the airwaves.
Yeah, again, that's the thing. Even if you think that the Riddler, nobody's looked into anything. And once you have the Riddler get on Rebel Radio Riddler, like, hey, everybody, when's a criminal not a criminal? When's a citizen not? And people start committing crimes that they have no record or whatever, you have to at least look into that. But because they didn't, it's almost like that idea of subtraction, addition, whatever. Mariko Tamaki doesn't even let that be a clue. It's just completely avoided. Batman doesn't even bat an eye of saying maybe he's their mind control, the airwaves. So it's not, it seems. It's more of this crazy, I don't know, Riddler doing something where he thinks that people need to be held accountable for their things. It doesn't feel right for the Riddler. He needs to be
held accountable for that mustache.
Yeah, really. He's got to be held accountable for a lot of things, including just having a random schedule of when he records his podcast, video blog. I don't even know what it is, television show, because at points he's doing it at 4 a.m., but also at 12 midnight, but also then in the morning while people are eating breakfast. I don't get the schedule.
Well, you can stream it anytime you want.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, it seems like people are watching it live at points, the way that it plays out. But you end up having Bruce on a dinner date then with Carolyn Donovan. And again, Mariko Tamaki doesn't set up characters well enough for us to ever get any idea if these people are on the up and up, what they're doing, whatever. They just kind of arrive and then they spout out stuff. This dialogue that she ends up saying to Bruce, at one point they are going back, and I think they're having a contest of who could be the most pretentious pricks out there as they go, the light of the justice system doesn't shine well here. And then Bruce jumps in a way that doesn't seem like it's him, but it all is Bruce. This is Mariko Tamaki thinking that Batman's on the case. He takes her to dinner and says, hey, any of these people that ended up being arrested or whatever doing these, did they have any other times where they showed up in court? Because I don't know. And she goes, I don't want to discuss it.
What is this for Batman and stuff like that? Is this a legitimate date for Bruce Wayne, who might care about Carolyn Donovan in some regard, but also wants to be, getting on the case as Batman? Because everything he's asking Carolyn about what she does as a judge and who comes in. Hey, Oracle, go look up this list for me.
Oracle is done. And don't give me this idea of the stuff that Mariko Tamaki had them doing during that tower
is it
deal.
Business and pleasure?
Yeah, I don't know, because afterwards, Bruce looks like he is the most pissed off guy I've ever seen in my life.
Well, he's an incel.
I just love that, where he says, hey, did anybody have like parking tickets? Right? This is stuff Oracle could legally look up. I mean, this isn't even the stuff that he ends up having them do anyway, where they're changing legal documents and things like that, but yet he can't do it. And Tamaki seems to not be that interested in Batman. Doesn't seem now more interested in a Bruce Wayne than even a Batman, but also just never Batman doing anything that seems right or seems like he is on the case. It's just, oh, we're going to go to this dinner. And like I said, when you have Carol, I was starry-eyed once and thought of changing Gotham. It's funny now every person looks at the rot. I'm like, then stop your job, ladies. Just stop it. You're a judge. And then even then, when you have this play where finally Oracle gets on the case and says, oh, I just looked it up. We figured out that this Ashen, the guy who ended up having that bomb, his brothers, the DA, always on her case. It just, everything just falls into place in a weird way that Batman can never figure out himself.
But Deb Donovan, she's on the freaking case through and through this entire way. She has a freaking board, a cork board with freaking, tacks in there, yawning, going different places. She has files on everybody involved. She wants to get down to this whole thing, and to the point where they are actually coming for her while she's at her freaking, the Gotham Gazette in the middle of the night, trying to suss out who the perpetrator is behind the citizen criminals.
Batman, Bruce Wayne, has to go to a dinner and beg, can you tell me if these people were in your court or anything other? He never seems to. Deb Donovan's pulled out all the stats. Well, this person who did that, the reason they actually were arrested at one point, but got off for that. This is all in the public knowledge. It's not like Deb Donovan is doing really she's just pulling up the microfiche from the newspaper. Why couldn't Batman do that? He's never the one that solves things in this. Though I do like when he leaves the date. And he ends up, what's the verdict, Judge? I like, what a corny ass. And she's like, I don't know. You have a bad taste in wine, but you're a gentleman. He looks at her like he's going to kill her, starts running through the park. And then you get the Riddler, which I love when he just comes flying like on the air, just screaming like he's Crazy Eddie.
It's the witching hour, everyone.
Oh, my God. Yeah. And so that's the thing that gets me here. Now, like you said, you could be streaming it, but it's weird because it seems like while Bruce is going through the deal, he's recording maybe, but then he's in the cave looking at things. Deb Donovan calls and has an SOS. Oh my God. I was working late at the paper. Somebody broke in. I don't want to call the police because I don't want them to know that I'm working on this case for the paper. and I'm scared. So she calls in Batman, who gets there. And I'd love to think, and I know you're going to say the timing because of the streaming, and it's true. But I want to think that she called at the witching hour, and it took him till 4 a.m. to get his ass over there. She's been hiding in a closet. But he gets there, and nothing plays out well for me. He gets there. She comes out. She's going to hit him with an award. Looks like a Peabody. I don't know. Going to hit him. And he's like, whoa, whoa. And she's like, oh, Batman, man, somebody's in here. I don't know what's going on. I called you because I was scared. They're after me. Batman says, I'll escort you to the door. And she goes, I don't need you to escort me. Why did you call him then? You called because you were scared. You were hiding in a closet.
She called Batwoman. Batwoman called Oracle.
He
Oracle
says,
called
I will
Batman.
walk you to that door. And she goes, why do I need an escort from you? You called him. That's why. You called him. And she says, oh, somebody broke. I didn't get the idea until afterwards that what she's saying is somebody did break in and went through her stuff. I thought she just heard somebody and then hid and called. But somebody obviously came into
And not only just
there.
heard somebody, but when Batman chased that person out, this person leapt out a freaking skyscraper window with no, like Damian Wayne did out of that jet in this issue of Robin this week. And I'm like, whatever. And it's such a weird idea because the only person I can see that being is Talia al Ghul, and I have no idea why she's involved in this book at all. Because even when you break down the whole the background and everything that's going on here, where Oracle and Batman are talking about it, I don't have a connection between the perpetrators themselves. Well, that's why I'm here to help. I'm like, yeah, why'd you go on that date with Carol? But I have another connection: the Donovans. Deb Donovan took out a massive loan from Gotham Bank during her most recent divorce. I'm like, how many divorces do you have? But the same branch.
When you have to say recent, that's trouble.
I'm telling you, it sounds like somebody in my family.
Made me laugh.
Divorced the same branch John Harper guessed, and Martin Ashton is the DA's brother, the same DA who almost always assigned to Carolyn, and Carolyn almost always rules in Ashton's favor. It isn't enough. Why the bombing? Why these people? And why the Donomans? And then you have an alert on the computer. Match found, Darby Turner. And the thing is, like, the idea that you picked up a piece of hair from the Gotham Gazette from this person, and then for some reason we have a match found on this after trying to suss out who is involved, why they're involved, and why the Donovans are all involved. And somehow this leads us to going to Talia al Ghul, who's just hanging out in Gotham for no goddamn reason, and Batman going, where's Darby Turner? I'm like, how would she know? Why?
I don't know.
Where's Darby Turner?
That's the problem. I'm sitting there. I'm like, wait a second. Darby Turner? And what's this? So, like you said, this person jumped out of a skyscraper, basically. So if this was the idea of the match then was Talia, even though Talia being in town makes no sense of what we're doing and everything going on. But, and it's out of the Shadow War. Legitimately, you can't have a mystery with one more issue left after this. This is the penultimate of the story.
Thankfully.
Where you end up throwing things out. Again, this is a mystery where you just throw out names. Talia, Darby Turner, in a way that is never set up. It doesn't progress, but at least if you would have gotten that hair and somehow it was Talia, and then he ends up, oh my God, like, what would this be? Oh, she's in town. And then from her get Darby Turner information somehow, that would make more sense, but not. Where do you get this Darby Turner Talia?
Batman goes to Talia al Ghul. Talia, where's Darby Allin? I haven't seen Darby Turner. Darby Allin, I think, is a wrestler, but no, I haven't seen Darby in a while, as you know. I've been out of town, and when I got back, and I'm like, since when do you live in Gotham? But her family was ruined. I hear she's been running a small-time money laundering scheme for some rough gentlemen downtown. You know Darby, but I assume this isn't just about the heiress gossip mill. I'm like, I don't know what's happening in this book, and I feel like a fucking idiot.
I'm telling you, I told you at the beginning of this week, and I know you always laugh when I get a hold of you, and not all the time, but sometimes I'll just say, I'm like, this book is a wreck. I don't understand what's going on. And I know you usually like laugh it off. I'm going to see what's going on.
It's not monosyllabic. It bothers you.
Maybe you can crack the code or whatever. I'm right, though, right? This book is a wreck. You go from point A to point H, and then back to B, then over to Z with nothing setting it up.
And I just want Batman to punch Riddler in the face. Fine, Riddler.
That's why I did the song for you. The idea where the Riddler, was that the ruse just to get the covers, to get people to buy this because
nothing sells comics like hipster Riddler?
I know, I guess, but really, what do you rather? Would you sit there and go, oh my God, did you see that cover with Darby Turner on it? I need to get that. Darby Turner.
Like, am I missing something? Is that a classic freaking, DC?
I could not find anything. I looked, and then when you get this, I think Mariko Tamaki and maybe Nadia Shamas as well, I think they're fucking with us. The idea, you know that Darby Turner. No, I don't.
And now
I don't
that I'm
know
back
her at
home
all.
in Gotham City, because I'm Talia al Ghul.
Yeah, Talia al Ghul, of the Gotham al Ghul.
And my best friend, the former heiress, Darby Turner.
Then I thought that there was a clue because you go into her apartment, the Batman goes off, and then I thought that was one of those envelopes, but it looks like it's just like a tablet where she was watching the Rebel Radio Riddler nonsense. So she ends up where, I can look, how's our boy doing? And then all that nonsense. And then she says, the Riddler might be right. What is he right about? He's just spouting off nonsense at midnight.
When is a murderer not a murderer? If justice is blind, who tied the blindfold and who has their finger on the scales?
But what do you mean he's right?
We'll be back at 5 after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, everybody, MeUndies.
Stamps.com.
This nonsense stuff. So what is he? He's not even, are those riddles? Those are more cryptic notes or something, or hints. I don't even know. At the one point, he's like, hey, everybody, it's the witching hour. Nothing's out like the vermin and the bats. You know what I'm saying, people? All right, here's the Friday morning fart song. But yeah, he's just doing this. Why are anybody watching this radio show or video deal? It's nonsense.
I'd watch it.
You might. I don't know. I think you'd get into it a little, but he's not really doing anything new. He's got to up the ante here. But yeah, he's like, I got to find Darby Turner. Well, you know her. And then just to point the idea of, well, she lost her money. So did you, chump. So you can figure that out. And I'm like, Darby Turner? Who is Darby Turner? Even then where you have Deb Donovan gets a lead. Oh, my God, somebody called and said that they know something about it. When you end up having this woman show up, Miss Smith, is it supposed to be that we're like, oh, my God, that's Darby Turner and she shaved her head?
I don't know. Did she shave her head? Is that how she usually looks? I don't know.
Here's the thing. That hair was real long that he ended up grabbing, and now she has a shaved head. I don't know.
I had the idea, too, with like the idea that hair sample at first where like I have to assume that was the thing that they picked up to freaking, lead to Darby Turner with a DNA sample. But when that person jumped out that window, though, it looks like Talia al Ghul. And I'm like, did Talia al Ghul leave this behind?
And somehow
we figured out it was Darby Turner, and then we figured out this. I don't know.
But she could have just told Batman,
but why shave your head out of nowhere?
But then why do anything out of nowhere? Because the whole book's out of nowhere. You're out of nowhere, Eric. You end up where suddenly this Darby Turner with the shaved head goes to Deb Donovan and says, hey, I got some information. Why don't we go to the roof where I'm going to now put a gun to your head? I'm going to take you down. You better report on all them judges and all them courts who aren't good.
Okay.
Like, what is going on? What happened in this book? I wanted the Riddler being mind-controlling people with a neat little podcast, and now we're doing this nonsense that seems to almost seem like, is it social justice stuff? Because it's so convoluted, I can't even say what it is. The idea of a corrupt, court system and why people get away, but who knows what, and why does it matter? Darby lost their money, so she's going to end up taking down Deb Donovan. She's going to shoot her if she doesn't report this. Deb Donovan, then, I love her thing. It's like, that is not practical. It's like, you have a gun to your head. It's not practical. That's fantasy. It's impossible. Like, so is this. I'm going to shoot you. Batman shows up, knocks the gun out of her hand. When then you end up having this guy, Perry, show up. Where are these people coming from?
I'm trying to go back now because I'm like, was this guy Perry? Was it somebody that was sitting there on top of like Deb Donovan's desk? But no, that's John Harper.
Yeah, that's the guy who killed himself. That's the guy who committed suicide rather than end up. So it looks like she says Green. So Perry Green? Perry Green shows up from the wings. Oh,
I would imagine he's one of them rough gentlemen from downtown the freaking Darby Turner's been messing with.
He seems like a nice
she's been running a small-time money laundering scheme for some rough gentleman downtown, like Perry.
Even that gets, like, shoved aside. Like, so Perry shows up. Perry. Oh, my God. What a great guy. He gets in front. No, Batman, don't hurt her. Please spare us. We need help. Please. He says, I'll help you. And you end up, Darby Turner says, no, we have to do what he says.
But the thing is, it's a weird situation, too, because you think that these people are being blackmailed to do stuff against their will because of something that's going to be brought up from their past and stuff like that. But even, Darby Turner here talks about, look, it doesn't matter if I do this or not because the envelopes just keep on coming. It's never going to stop, so I might as well just end it right now. She jumps off a building, so then Batman jumps off and grabs her, does a little flippity flop so she doesn't die, and somehow Perry gets down there at the speed of light. I don't know how he does that.
I don't even know.
This ends up just reminding me of that Nightwing arc that we had after the initial, Nightwing Rebirth arc, who was after Tim Seeley's run, where we had that Sam Humphries arc, the Judge, the idea where he had those magic, poker chips, and he would get people to do stuff that they didn't normally want to do or would do. Like, honestly, like Deb Donovan doing stuff here, it's almost like which should be Deb Donovan, but it's almost like Swoboda, the cop in that who had the sniper rifle, was going to kill somebody because of her daughter being threatened, and almost feels along those lines, but just even more asinine, because at least they had some weird supernatural elements where the Judge in that was fucking transformed by the sea.
This doesn't seem like a supernatural mind control thing anymore. It just seems like straight up blackmail, but it should be. And that's the thing. Me and you are the couple. All of a sudden I'm like, no. And you're like, Perry. I'm like, I'm Jim. Jeez, you keep yelling Perry. And I get in front.
I'm talking about sword fighting. You didn't move.
No, I thought you meant Luke Perry. You end up where, R.I.P. You end up where I get in front and I say, Batman, please don't hurt Eric, please. And you go, come on, Jim, we have to stop. It's never going to end. I'm like, well, what do you mean? We're getting envelopes. They're going down in order. We just got 5. Like we got 6 the other day. We just got to work this out here.
I have to imagine there's also 7 that we didn't really take notice to because the story itself is actually called The 7.
Yeah, The 7. So you have that. But yeah, and indeed, though, the idea of keep going, but never set up. Like that's the problem, I think, with Mariko Tamaki and all these things, especially this Batman book. Nothing is ever, or even the Wonder Woman as well, nothing's set up so that you have a basis of Darby Turner or Perry or how many people. Because when I saw The 7, then it only just dawned on me when you just said it now. It's nothing was set up. I thought this was Rebel Riddler Radio. I thought there was something
the hits.
So The 7, but then you're like, well, what are the others? We didn't even know. You have to sit there and really pay attention of, okay, that picture on the desk wasn't Perry. That was the guy who killed him. Nothing plays out. And again, what happened was Deb Donovan found out that these people, the girl, the social media girl, but also this guy who ended up killing himself, he ended up having some bad things happen in his past.
He killed a 5-year-old in a hit and run.
Very much like I Am Batman. Not exactly, but even in I Am Batman.
Because he was rich, he was able to get off on the freaking, instead of going to jail.
Like I Am Batman. And in I Am Batman, we're dealing with an artiste who wants to take down people who did not end up paying for their crimes.
Man Ray?
It's very similar, Man Ray. Then we have that with the verdict with Harley at the end of this. I mean, everything seems to be this
almost feels like a weird situation, like the Saul, or like the movie Saul, or like 7. I mean, like Saul franchise, but like or 7 in the idea where then like everybody's playing like the villain is playing like a game of chess because you're going to have Darby Turner go out here and try to kill Deb Donovan, but then you're going to have Perry come out there, and just in case, like the idea that we had Carolyn Donovan had a note on an envelope on her door with number 6 on it. Mm-hmm. It's like I guess her orders was just in case. Just Darby Turner doesn't kill your mother, and Perry shows up and tries to tell Batman what's going on. I need you to be here at the Gotham Gazette at this time. So if Perry runs his goddamn mouth, you shoot him, which she does by the end of this.
That's what she does at the end. Now, she's being blackmailed. It seems she's doing this, but in the end, when you talk about a Saul or something, and even maybe the interesting deal would have
Saul,
been
like not in the idea where most people think like in the traps and stuff like that, but where you have like like the character Zep from the first one, who you thought was the bad guy for the majority of the film, but it turns out he's being played by Jigsaw as well and stuff like that. So it's all these twists and turns about who you think the villain. Exactly.
Yeah, and so by the end of this, and we have one more issue. When I ask you this, seriously. If what is playing off here, if the Riddler is does that seem anything the Riddler would ever be involved with? That's what gets me here.
Man, he just got off of meth. I don't know what he's up to anymore.
Like if all of a sudden the Riddler just goes, yep, I just wanted people to pay for their crimes. Like, oh man, classic Riddler. The riddle was, what the fuck is this book doing?
Well, even Talia says in this, I don't even think it's what he cares about. I think he's like Talia says, he just wants to play. He's screwing with Batman.
He wants to play a game. He's Jigsaw. Now, that's why maybe the play could have been if you did more.
Imagine
and now
if Jigsaw had a radio station.
Well, you got me thinking more about the Saw deal, and maybe you have a deal where Batman just wakes up in this, escape room type thing with all these other people, and they have to figure out why they're all there. What did Batman do? Whatever. Batman, though, is running. Batman's running behind schedule here. He's always behind the eight ball, as I say. He never knows the clues. He never figures himself anything out and barely needs to be in these issues. He saves Darby because he jumps off the deal. But
I heard she's running for some rough gentlemen downtown.
Other than that, he went out on a dinner. He ended up talking, like a pretentious prick with Carolyn about
it's the first date. You always got to do that.
Right? You have that. So what did he do? Didn't do much there.
Bruce Wayne has to wear more than one mask.
Now, he goes back then, and you get Deb Donovan. She figures out most of the stuff. Well, Oracle figures out a couple other things. He goes to Talia, finds out nothing, and then ends up at the end going, he did nothing in this book except pretty much run behind everybody and then make sure that Darby Turner, classic Darby Turner, just like Darby Turner would do, jumping off that building, and then stands there while, I don't know how, but Carolyn sneaks up and shoots, probably dead or maybe at least real injured.
I swear it's going to be some weird-ass shit that, now that we see the Darby Turner...
doing? He's facing where she comes from. And
now we found out that Darby Turner is bald. There's got to be some kind of thing because there's no reason in my mind for her to shave her head. He's like, there's a hair. She's a brunette. Let's do this. It turned up as Darby Turner. I'm going to go talk to Talia al Ghul, who's also, a brunette and has long hair. And that looked like, I don't know what's happening.
You're doing the play of, you have Mariko Tamaki is actually playing meta because Batman doesn't like to tell and expose like his plans to his teammates. And we're the teammates, right? He's not going to tell. Makes no sense.
I swear at this point in time, he's gotten bored with crime fighting to the point where he did all his crime fighting gear, his computer, his lab, and stuff like that. It's like a video game where he starts randomizing things. So whatever shows up, he has to work in a different way to figure out what the real truth is.
Cool. What you're saying is it's almost like when me and you could do a podcast where I start the story and then then you pick it up. We just go wherever the hell we go. The problem is I think that Mariko Tamaki really didn't understand from the beginning that a Bruce Wayne without money, without tech, can still be capable. I think that she is stuck on this weird idea that he can't get anything done because she's the only one who stresses the money type deal. And then you have this, but it's always shade at him. Like, oh man, I'm poor again. Oh geez, you have to tell you you poor ass. You'll know where Darby Turner is,
in
right?
the richest neighborhood in Gotham, but still the poor guy.
Yeah, I know. But yet he never can do anything right.
Do you know how you know he's poor? We don't go to the Batcave. We go to the garage. Right. Batman calls it a car hole because he's poor.
Ooh la la. But yeah, you end that story with basically, out of the shadows, Carolyn Donovan comes and shoots the Perry. I can't even remember. Perry in the back. He goes down. Oh, man, who's going to do the laundry now? Eric, they're both in trouble. But then we go off to this Gotham Girl backup, which, again, me and you like Gotham Girl. I like the concept that we're getting her back at least.
I don't
maybe
like
you
Gotham Girl.
Well,
I really,
can say
really
maybe
don't.
You can do something for her and get her at a place that maybe
Gotham
we can
Girl.
go. Well, this Cinna Grace story is nonsense. Doesn't even make sense in my mind for everything going on, especially I don't even know how you end up having a kid in high school that has OCD who's actually in a mental hospital with somebody who is a ultra powerful supervillain.
Well, you don't live in a DC universe either.
Well, that's true. But that Arkham Tower, I know they were pushing it. Well, it's for everybody. You don't have the same setup of a Gotham Girl and just a kid with OCD. It seems so ridiculous. But even then, nothing plays out well in this. It's by Cinna Grace, art by David Lapham, Trish Mulville on colors, and Rob Leigh on letters. So you end up having this where she is trying to figure out who's doing this Gotham Girl website that nobody cares about.
He thought it was her former friend who she found with the, his laptop open to the Gotham Girl freaker website that's been exposing people gossip style on the internet. But when she found him, he was dead and it made it look like a suicide. But she doesn't believe it is a suicide. Now she's got to take his computer, even as the cops are investigating, and try to figure out what's going on and get to the bottom of this because she doesn't want her good name slandered while she also tries not to. But tries to more acclimate herself to the society and get past all of the problems that she previously had that did wind her up in Arkham for a while.
Well, and Cinna Grace adds some things in here that are weird in my mind. One of the things that it really spells out that Batman's keeping an eye on her, that also, again, shows that Batman's doing shit. I mean, he is not really taking care of her if he is watching, but she ends up just little things where she goes and finds this kid and then says, okay, I'm going to call 911. I can't be here as Gotham Girl. I got to be Claire, and ends up getting out of her costume. But then after talking to police, just flies off in the middle of the street with the stuff, stole the computer, and then ends up where she gets attacked by a black ops team.
Now, this is the worst part of this whole goddamn thing, because it's silly as hell that, Gotham Girl is just hanging out at the former Wayne Manor that's all just disheveled as hell now, talking to a freaking broken down gargoyle as she's trying to get to the bottom of this. And the person who was most recently, outed on Gossip Girl website, the most recent person has now sent a black ops team to shut this shit down because they're not going to have their name slandered like this. But the thing is, you just have a bunch of mercs come in and try to attack Gotham Girl, but ultimately it's like, look, I'm not doing this. I would have shut it down too. Does anybody have any coding skills? And then you get to the next scenes where everybody's just sitting down with pizza trying to figure out how to hack into this computer and change the code where everybody's it's almost like a sleepover.
Yeah. She ends up almost heat visioning their ass dead. And then they're like, and she says, either you can help me or you're going to be dead. And it's pizza party.
And now it's
jokes.
Okay, this code should bypass the malware bomb Andre set up in case someone tries to hack the computer. That worked. How are the Black Ops people so good with tech? How does fountain cola always taste better than bottle or can? And I'm like, more carbonation, stupid.
Yeah, really, that's what it is. And why is this happening? Then I love where one of the guys goes, hey, I saw this once, and clicks on a folder. I'm like, oh, really? You're going to open that folder? Oh, my God, that's all of the Towers deal where she gets this information. Is this the setup? Is this the deal? But she goes then to the tower and goes in and grabs Chase and is going to end up taking her down saying, you killed somebody, you did this. I would think that this is more of a setup or whatnot, but
I don't think so. I don't think Dr. Chase Meridian would become this murdering person who's also setting this up. The craziest thing, though, out of nowhere, you bring her in the continuity and then you make it so that she is like a Hugo Strange character out of nowhere.
Batman was the one who said that she was on the up and up, so it might be the case. But there you go. Like in this, you have Gotham Girl. She is unhinged. She even says at one point, hey, I'll get back to going to the meetings. So you have this. We have one more part left, and now Gotham Girl has broken into Arkham Tower, grabbed Chase Meridian, and smashed her out a window. This is not really what I was looking for, to get a redemption or at least something where you can set Gotham Girl up to have her somewhere down the line. To use her for, this is just that Sinner Grace came on here and said, okay, mental illness, trauma, we're just going to go with this. And that's the problem. At the end, I don't see Sinner Grace saying, okay, this girl cannot be, around. We're going to do this. It'll be at the end. You're going to get your help. And that's all it'll be.
The way that Claire's acting here, the way she had been acting all throughout Tom King's run because he decided to ruin the character, I just don't know how you have a Batman, world's greatest detective, one of the smartest people in the DCU, says, you know what, you have a lot of problems and you are a danger to society and a lot of people around you. If you could snap at any moment, here's a special rock that'll give you Superman powers forever. Have fun, kiddo.
Yeah, it was like Platinum K, right? Here you go. Superman gave this to me to have powers forever.
But I think an unhinged person should have it instead of me.
Because remember, she ended up losing her powers. And here, you take this, you get, and we said, even when they did it, it was wonky. But then from there, oh, by the way, I just gave you the ultimate power set again, but I'm going to need you to go off to, Arkham Tower and okay, you're out now. And he's been watching her, but what is he watching? Nothing makes sense.
Well, who watches the Watchmen?
I said Sinner Grace, and also I hate that. Is that a mask she's wearing, or those giant big, glasses to make her look like an owl?
It could be a mask. It could be a magic marker drawing giant circles over your eyes. I don't know.
I don't know. But like I said, Sinner Grace is really trying to center on the trauma and the mental illness deal, but not doing enough of that. And then also throwing in this Gossip Girl website that makes no sense. It really is not. It's terrible. And then at the end, making it looked like she's way too dangerous to be out and about. And I really thought that this could be something where if you're going to deal with the trauma, deal with the trauma. Deal with something. Maybe she goes to Batman and says, listen, you gave me my powers back.
Just suck her to the Phantom Zone. I'm done with her. She's a menace to society. She's going to hurt anybody around her. Just get rid of her.
I mean, if you went where Batman gave me that, oh my, that's great responsibility. Maybe I can help. Maybe you could do this thing. But having her come out of nowhere again, it doesn't really push anything forward. And it just looks like Cinna Grace is centering on some wacky things. And I think that Cinna Grace is pretty much a hack. So that's just me. But this story stinks. The progression is off. No, that's just me saying I've read a bunch of stuff by him and I think he sucks. So, but some people like him, some people don't. I know that you're a big fan of his work. You probably haven't read him before this. Things. You haven't read Rockstar and Soft Boy? You haven't read that? That's new. That's actually, people like that. Yeah, people like that book.
That's what my last girlfriend kept calling me. It wasn't a nice name.
An Image deal. I don't know that it's nice for that either, but he did Iceman. He also did some other X-Men stuff at Marvel.
Well, if it wasn't DC, I'm sure I didn't read it.
Yeah, so with that, what would you give this whole book?
I think the art in both our main story and our Gotham Girl backup is great, and I love the idea of a possible... And again, I say I love the idea. I want to love the idea. I like the idea, at least, of a Rebel Radio Riddler. Just don't get enough of it.
Rebel Radio Riddler!
And what we do get confuses the hell out of me. I don't know how we get from point A to point B. Gotham Girl is a goddamn reckless monster who needs to be locked away for the rest of her life because she will kill people. She has in the past. She may do it again. And now that she has the powers of a god permanently, it's just crazy in my mind that she should still be out and about in Gotham. Giving this a 5.5 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 3.5. I hated it. I think that Mariko Tamaki should just leave DC and go and do her indie books. I don't think that she really quite gets what a superhero book is all about. I don't think that she realizes or wants to do anything with Batman, ending up where he can figure nothing out. Everybody else does the legwork, and then he still ends up messing up. And this Gotham Girl didn't need to be happening, and it adds $1 to the thing, and it's nonsense. And it's not, in my mind, with one issue left, it's not doing anything to better or help out that character that was ending up as a villain in Tom King's run. And I was hoping that maybe we could get her a little bit in the fold. The Bat family's a little too crowded anyway, but I didn't mind if you just have this.
What are you talking about? At one point, she has to kill Batman and Duke and her have to get married.
Yeah. No, that's Dr. Phosphorus now. That changed there. But even then, where's Duke? That would be nice to have him just show up. And so now you're getting me even madder.
And now I'm getting mad because of those weird situations. Like, I don't know if things have changed now, like who he's with, but it seemed like Cassie and him were getting kind of close, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a Batgirl versus a Gotham Girl for the love of Duke Thomas.
That'd be crazy. Like, you could have that. But I just kind of thought,
the most dangerous girl in the world takes on a god. Who's the winner? Place your bets.
Who is the winner? When this was announced, a Gotham Girl story. I always like Gotham Girl a little more than you anyway. But when you have it, I just thought you have a character that, we kind of got away from, ended up really problems at the end of Tom King's deal, being part of that whole Bane theme deal and going against Batman and stuff.
City Bane?
I thought that this might have been, remember, she took down freaking Captain Atom for crying out loud. I mean, you can't just let her flying around.
Made him look like a
people.
jerk.
I mean, just think of that. Yeah, at Phantom Zone, you might be right. But I just thought that this would have been best served of, okay, here's the character, reintroduce him. The people say she's trying to work on some things. She's okay, whatever. And then boom, maybe we don't see her again, but at least you leave with a good taste in your mouth about it.
I'm going to do a crazy thing where I'm going to retcon all of this. I'm going to bring Captain Atom back in. We're going to go to the Nevada desert or something like that. I'm going to set off an atomic bomb. No, I'm going to set off an atomic bomb, and Captain Atom, he's going to run at that. He's going to absorb all that energy, because whenever he does that, he gets leapt throughout time. I'm going to try to hope that he gets leapt into the past, where he can stop this from ever happening, and Claire never gets her powers in Africa with her brother Hank, and those duo can go and live their lives without ever being superheroes.
You say this stuff. Nothing ever really played out well with this character, and now you get this so silly of a website. Gossip Girl website. Oh my goodness.
Me and Cap can make it happen.
A man who seems to have been doxxed by this website and seems to have been, sends a Black Ops team that immediately then starts to have a pizza party with the villain, for them at least, the villain, and just end up going through computers and stuff. Like, it's nonsense. 3.5.